Manko kumga ne furu nde nkimben buga tomta wunga buga che mbushe America na buga tin ndango tezga be etu mankon zamba be tin ga buga bongo teye ntangela mankon ka mbagara nu tsumo nze zamba be buga kan gwata tintiman kun rena nimbile manu maganiti babuga egam ne kan tangama kan ngam mankun zaman mu zamba ti no wo ba ko ne abenga ngam German buga zum tserebo ifo ndefru babaye so zumta njela tirat meche anzum zumta ba song song bamba be izu unun ka song bu ka song ye so ngote zeze ngote tingtang manko babu ga tinaga bu wat ga abu bo nya ke bi tnene gam ninge nkene adam babu gane babu jine bunu kata tu je inu no tumtuma daga nene chabuga burna ta burna la mamagam na karata angon tumtuma izuwa. Beloved Mankon people, my name is Frunda Nkimbe. I am in Lowell, America. We have our small discussion group called Mankon Think Tank, and we tell stories about Mankon and discuss issues that we think can advance Mankon forward. One of the important issues that came on was the gifts that the German emperor sent to von Angwafo II as a decoration. So it begs the question, what is the significance of the armored dress, the cuirasses, and the helmet, the flag, and the sword that the German king sent to our brave von Angwafo II. There are many stories, there are many versions, and we really want to discuss this so as to shed light on this issue. Not that we are experts, but we are trying to put our thoughts together and to generate a discussion amongst the Mankon people so that we write our history ourselves, because we do believe that he who writes your history glorifies his misdeeds and make you a subordinate. So here you will meet our Mankon Think Tank delegation here in America from Chicago, Tata Songwe, from Minnesota, Dan Kimben, from Kansas City, Missouri, Tata Toby, and from Maryland, Tata Niva Queen, Dan Defru. And let the discussion begin. We are exploring the truth about this because there are so many versions out there, and we'd like to hear from one of us what he thinks about it. And after our discussion, we'll get into question and answer so that we can do a round table to share our knowledge. So over to you, Tata Toby. And before we get to that, I would say we have Tata Michael Asongwe zooming in from Chicago. We have Tata and Kimben zooming in from Minnesota. And we have Tata Toby zooming in from Kansas City, Missouri. And I am your host, coming to you from Lowell, Massachusetts. Over to you, Tata Toby.
Now, I think I will also speak in English.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. Kwen kong gam na la. Abin gam na la nan kana tem na yishi na. Kama manya matisa. No mama lo nan gam na karala.
Taylor.
Okay. It's gonna turn it la ana kosa. Zma for organize gonna turn a kosa for. It kosa for samba the Germans Ghana on December 20, 1906. That was December 20th, 1906. That was when those instruments of surrender were given to Angwafo II. Because Angwafo II came from hiding. He did not come. The Germans did not go down to the palace and brought him up and say, okay, here, you are a strong man, take this. That's not what happened. Angwafo II had been hiding for 5 years in what today is called Babanki Tungo. In the hills, there are some caves in there. And that's where he has been hiding. But still running the war. And for 10 years, the Germans never came into Mankon because Mankon had earlier defeated them in a war. But when they came in 1901, it was so difficult that the phone had to run out of the palace and they burnt it down. Now, he went to hiding, and after 5 years, almost 5 years, it was not exactly 5 years, it was only left, it was 4 years, 11 months. It was 4 years, 11 months, because he left in January 1901.
1901.
Yes. So he came back December 20, 1906. And when he came back with one of his servants called Awasum, and they went into the fort. Now, first of all, he was afraid of being caught on the way or being discovered on the way, because any army who caught him and took him to the station was going to take him as a trophy. So he disguised. He only pulled off his disguises when he reached the station. And he went in there. And he went and told Pavel that he was the king of Bande. He said that so that Pavel will understand, because that's what they called Mankon in those days. I'm the king of Bande. You know, this guy's been staying in the cave for over 4 years. So he has lost weight. And the man said, no, I don't think you are. Because when I came down in 1901 to your palace, the guy I saw as the king was not you. What happened is, when he was coming down, Mankon was trying to play diplomacy and go and meet them on the way and stop the war. But he pushed them aside and walked right down to the palace. And so they called somebody. Those of you who are a little older, more than 60 years old, you know Azaa. You know Azaa for Mukara? Azaa for Mukara's father was taken into the palace and put on the throne. And that's why they called him for Mukara. That's to say, he was the king only for the white man. He was for Mukara. That's why they called him Azaa for Mukara. He went and sat there pretending to be the king. And the king instructed him, anything they ask, give it to him. We will let them know that we have surrendered. And once they leave, we will attack. And they went in the outskirts and they were waiting. But the Germans, they have been fooled too many times. The Germans, 10 years later, have come back with a lot of experience because they have gone to Takum. Takum is a big kingdom out there in Benue State, which is just like, or bigger than Mankon and Bafut combined. They have been to Wukari. They have been to Banyo in the east. They have been everywhere, and they have now. They said, okay, this is too easy. These people have accepted too easy, and this is Mankon. We are not messing with. Don't keep your eyes off Mankon. That's what Pavel told his army. This, Azak Mukara pressed his fingers on the papers that were presented to him and said, "You got it. Anything they ask, you got it." But the Mankon scouts and the army were waiting on the outskirts of the city. But the Germans never left. They came with 2 machine guns. Guns that can shoot barrages of bullets. And they surrounded the palace and they were just waiting. As I was thinking they would leave, they didn't leave. At about 2 o'clock, they cornered one of the German army and they were trying to, they killed one. And the plantation grove where, or they call it banana grove, but there was a plantation grove near the palace. That machine gun went into action and cut down everything that was on it. Everything, all the stems came down. And 200 people died there. That was about 2 o'clock in the morning. And Azar left the palace and ran. In the morning, when it looked like everything has gone quiet, they left and were trying to go to Bafut. I'm talking of 1901. On the 9th, the morning is the 10th. Yes, the morning is the 10th of December, 1901. They were going to Bafut and they were attacked again by Mankon. And they killed 2 people. But the Germans killed more than 50 Mankon people there. And finding no more fires coming from anywhere, they walked into Bafut. In Bafut, the skirmishes, Bafut has what is called a town source. These are warriors, people who know how to just harass and do warring very well. It took Bafut 7 days. Bafut surrendered on the 18th of December 1901. And then the Germans have run out of money to pay their army. So they came up with something like, you catch any woman, you can take her as a wife, or you take her to go and sell her in order to make your money. That's all you have to do now. So they came right back into Mankon, attacked Mankon from 2 sides. That's the 20th of December 1901. The reason I know about, there were about 200 women who were taken from Mankon that day. The one that is well known to me is my grandmom's sister. She was called Z. You know the Tumasangs, the Tumasang Tebos who are in Alatu. You know that Tumasang who used to ride a horse to Tinkak school, and he was a teacher, right? That was his father. Now, this girl was the daughter of Tumasang Tebo, and they picked her. Took the baby that was in her hand, buttered her with the bottom of a gun, and dropped her into the bushes, and took the woman away. A week later, she was in the Bali market being sold. They had cut all her hair, because that's the way they treated slaves. You cut all the hair, it means they are ready for sale. In the Bali market, and to make a long story short, some borrowed from Sabe. You know where Sabe is? When you pass Bali, you go into Babisong, or what is called Ashong today. After Ashong, you have Sabe. That's where she was bought and taken to. She didn't know geography. She didn't know. She was saying she's a Mankon, but nobody knew Mankon at that time. Everybody was calling the place Bande. So nobody knew what country she's talking about. Anyway, that's a digression. The thing is, when the phone left Babanki and came down to the station and walked and told Pavel that he is here to surrender. He wants mercy for his family and his followers, and that he was willing to follow and help the German government, the colonial government. Pavel did not agree. Pavel said, no, I don't think you are the king of Mankon, because the guy who signed the papers when I came into the palace on the 9th was not you. So he had to call the king of Mendankwe, the king of Nkwen. These are all called vassal states, the vassal states of the Germans. They say that I've already agreed that German is our lord. Bali is a vassal state. Mendankwe is a vassal state. Nkwen is a vassal state. And then the other kings heard that they were going to kill the son of Mankon that day. They did whatever they were doing, and they came up to the station to come and see him one last time. So the hall was filled. Pavel came in, and the phone was telling him they have to come into some kind of agreement. He said, no, the agreement is already signed. But it was signed, and then the Mankon people signed the agreement and turned around and started shooting me. So I cannot agree with what you say. I don't believe you. If we sign an agreement now, you probably will start shooting me. And I don't know you. I don't think you are the king. So those other kings came and said, yes, this is the king of Mankon, Bande. Now, you know that same Angwafo had disgraced Zingraft about 10 years earlier. He had disgraced Zingraft so much that the German government, the German Foreign Office, had to withdraw Zingraft. So Pavel could not sleep very easily when the phone slipped out of his hands and ran away and went into hiding. Because he was thinking, maybe this guy will come out in my bedroom, maybe he will come out anywhere, and deal with me, because this guy is too slippery. So when he realized that this was really the phone of Mankon, he got up from his seat and pointed to the portrait, which was hanging behind his desk, and said, do you know who that man is? The phone of Bande said, no, I don't know that man. He said, that is the Kaiser of Germany. The Kaiser of Germany had a German Prussian helmet and a cuirass, which is that metal armor. And it was on that picture. He said, the Kaiser of Germany has given you, he has given you a present. So he went and collected a cuirass, came and clapped it on the phone of Mankon. Remember, he had been in hiding for close to 5 years, and he has lost a lot of weight. So that thing just hanging on him. And then he put the crown on him. The vassal states were sitting in the hall waiting for an execution, but instead he was decorated. Now that's where that is where we say the phone was decorated. What did the Germans mean by decorating a surrendered African king? In Europe, when you defeat somebody in war, you can give him your sword. You carry it home. You carry this home. You carry this home. As a disgrace, to say you have obtained instruments of surrender from me. I'm feeding you. You are eating out of my hands. That is the belief in Europe. In the colonial context, it is difficult for a sovereign king, like the king of Mankon, to receive instruments of surrender from, he used to call them those little boys up in the station. So why is it so humiliating for him to receive those instruments is that by receiving the instruments from those people, you are surrendering your nation to them. By receiving their flag, it means that now their flag has covered all the territories, including your own. And now you're holding their flag in your hand. That is not something you are supposed to touch with your hand. I mean, as a sovereign king, you're not supposed to touch those instruments. But the king of Mankon put away his pride. He put away his integrity so that they do not finish us. Now, the truth is that Mankon lost more than they say they lost about 40% of the male population of Mankon. And for the 10 years, Mankon has been suffering all kinds of indignities. Like when they made the market in the station, that's where all the money is. Everybody went there to sell their things in order to have money, in order to take care of their families. Most Mankon people could not. Because if you are going up to the station and you have a porcupine quill, you know what I'm talking about, or a red feather in your hat, it will mean that you are one of the warriors. They will put you to be digging the road. You will dig the road till maybe 3 or 4 o'clock before you go up to the market, and the market closes at about 5 o'clock. You're going when everybody has already sold, but the Mankon people are there working. They have tormented them, and all this news was going to Babanki. And Babanki understood that this is what is happening to the people. And they are harassing them. They are thinking that the king is in Mankon. If they torment these people enough, they will bring him out. But he was not there. But the Germans, Mankon has already defeated Germans the first time they came. And so they did not want that example to filter down to the other tribes to be disobeying them. So they were punishing Mankon non-stop until the king came and surrendered. And they gave him these instruments. And then he took them. Now, if you take, especially the flag, if you take a flag from somebody, it means that you have surrendered your sovereignty. You are now a subject. You are not a king anymore. You are now a subject of the colonial government. Your sovereignty is gone. But now you look at it. He thought of so many things before he surrendered because he saw the indignities that came with surrendering. In Takum is a kingdom which is as big as probably Mankon and Bafut joined together. They had already defeated them. And now Takum is now in Nigeria, and most people, Cameroon used to be southern and northern Cameroons. That's the British Cameroon. And so even Benue State used to be in Cameroon, used to be northern Cameroon. Katsina Allah they have a Fulani kingdom there. And they are the Jukun kingdoms. They are the TV or Munchi kingdoms. They are the Ibis who are near the Benue. They are all over the place. I'm talking of tribes that are like, even in those days, about 1 million or more. They had defeated all of them. They went to Banyo. You know, Banyo is in the East Cameroon. And they defeated the Caliphate, which was there ruling that area. So the only places that were remaining were Mankon and Bafut. And Nwafo knew all this. So they've already made the map. They were right in the middle. A group of people who cover less than 25 hills. And now all these kingdoms that they have surrendered have given them people to join their army. Do you think that you can stand a chance with all this multitude of people that they have collected and they're coming at you? So he had to give up. He had no second option. He knew that it was a surrender. He knew that these items were not something to be proud of when he brought them to the palace. But he had no choice. And he was the last king to have surrendered. Bafut says that they surrendered in 1907. They brought back their king in 1907 because they had banished him somewhere. And they brought, but the king who really went up and surrendered to the colonial government was the king of Mankon. Okay, go ahead.
Well, Tata, wrap it all so that we can get into discussion now. You've given that part of the story. I think that's a wonderful narration and historical summary. And one thing that people will want to know is uh, where is the source of your information? How did you get this information?
First of all, when I was growing up, before I even went to school, I lived with a man called Zama Akundu. Zama Akundu, he is under Tenyamgo's compound. You know Tenyamgo?
Mm-hmm.
Bantumaza's father's compound. His father had fought in almost all the wars. He has fought in all the wars. And then, secondly, my father's father, who was called T. Alam, because he was working in the forge. He was making holes and so he was a blacksmith. Let's call him a blacksmith. He gave most of this information to my father, who is a Wasum, T. Alam of Ntamba. A Wasum T. Alam, who was my father's father. My father's name is really Anye, although he eventually succeeded his father and they called him Awasum Chalam. So Awasum Chalam was the guy who used to use adongo to go and feed the fawn in Babanki. He will hide them in the bush. When he comes, he will get them, climb on them, so that the Germans cannot track his footprints.
Is Babanki what they used to call Alatmambang?
Yes, Alatmambang is Babanki. So he would use that in order that those people could not track his feet, his footprints. And they go with water, they go with food, they go with almost everything to make his life a little more comfortable. And when he was going up to the station, according to my grandfather, when they were going up to the station, the idea of the Germans are very ruthless. They may kill you. The thing is, I have also read 1920, when the Afro came on the throne, one of his wives, we call her, she lived in Awason's compound, Numonto. Numonto, I used to stay with her, take a blanket, catch a lot of sun in it, and take it back to her. And we would sit in the daytime. Well, I wasn't going to school, I was babysitting. And she would give me all the stories. Now, but when I grow up, I read a lot in order to connect the dots. I read from Chilvers. I have read quite a few books that have given me the connecting tissues to make up or to understand how the story was. Because even when I was a kid in the 60s.
Tata Songwe, what do you think?
Thank you, Toby Bianca. That's a wonderful history. The first question I want to ask is, from the books that you read,
yes,
definitely the story that you've told us was not going to be exactly as was in the books that you read. Was there anything that you read that will collaborate or come anywhere closer to what you now are telling us that came from word of mouth?